Are you looking for a life of freedom and flexibility? Do you want to have as much success with your family as you do in business? Here in the Entrepreneurial Family Man podcast, we break down the barriers and bust the myths that are keeping you from living your best life at home and at work. You deserve a thriving family, rich faith, and business success. Welcome to the Entrepreneurial Family Man podcast.
Hey, welcome to this episode of the Entrepreneurial Family Man podcast. This is Chris, and hey, today we want to tackle a little bit about this whole idea of the work-life balance. Is that a myth? I mean, really, we hear about this. Is there such thing as a balance? Is there a reality to it? Can we truly tackle it? And today I want to dig deep in a particular area of this balance, and that's working from home. So many of us hear about these guys working from home, making millions of dollars. But what's it really like? I mean, on this podcast, we're all about creating freedom and flexibility in your life, right? And so freedom to have the time to invest in the people you love, in the business that matters to you. And so we want to today just kind of pull back the curtain. What's that look like? You know, the three of us work from home in different types of scenarios. And there really are some joys, some travails, and just the reality of working from home. So is it for you? Hopefully this podcast episode will bring to light some of the struggles, but some of the opportunities that you can put in place to succeed. Because it's all about time, right? I mean, our precious commodity of time can't be replaced. And I was just recently reading how, the average US worker spends almost an hour a day commuting. If you're in LA or San Francisco, or some other crazy traffic area, it's almost 2 hours a day. So I ask you this, what would it look like if you got back 5 or 10 hours of your work day, of your work week, to spend more time with your kids and your wife? Maybe it's on your own well-being, your health. Maybe it's more sleep. I don't know what it is for you, but whatever that is, if you're in this journey of trying to live an extraordinary life and start your entrepreneurial endeavor with internet as your leverage, there's so many of these online businesses where literally all you need is a laptop and a cell phone, and you can work from anywhere. So why would you spend all this money at an office versus setting up a very dedicated opportunity to work from home? So we hope today we'll give you a little bit of the how-to and the why behind it. But at the end of the day, we don't want you to be like that BBC guy whose video went viral because his toddler's coming in, owning the show, and he was just like blindsided. So we want to talk through that. And today I want to talk, Michael, you have a great work from home setup, but it wasn't always like that. And so, what were you doing before? And then what were some of the struggles or challenges you overcame to set up a home office that works for you?
Okay. I love this topic, Chris. First of all, you might be glorifying this whole idea of having a home office, right? Especially if right now you're working out in some company or corporation. If you're sitting in an office right now and you're just thinking to yourself, man, if I could just walk down the stairs in my slippers, grab my cup of coffee and sit down on my computer, life would be amazing. But we all know that it's not that easy. There's a lot of different things that you don't think about, me, myself included. Before I had my own home office, I thought everything was going to be gravy. But do you know how loud it is? If you have kids and they're playing right outside your door, having a separate room isn't always enough. And what if your son falls and hurts himself and starts screaming at the top of his lungs? Should you go out there and help? Do you respond to that? Is it cold to stay in your office and keep working? Like, these are the things you don't think about. And I certainly didn't, but these are real scenarios. Now, first of all, if my office door is even open a little bit, my rugrats are going to come charging in like they're taking over the room, like it's a heist. My 1-year-old is going to be crawling right for the garbage, emptying that out completely, throwing papers everywhere. Then she'll go to my receipts and start throwing those and then starting to eat those. So I mean, the reality of it, yes, there are a lot of amazing advantages from working from home, but it is not always easy. And if you don't have this system figured out that can help you make this work, it can be actually pretty miserable. Jamie, you have some experience in this area. You know what's up in this. Tell us a little bit about what your story looks like.
Well, it's not. I agree with what you're saying. It's not pie in the sky like you think it's going to be before you move kind of into this lifestyle. But like, we have 4 kids at home, and it is just crazy. And so, another thing to throw into the wrench is that my wife started working, and so we have to help each other out. We have these coaching appointments where, like what you said, with if the kid cuts his finger and is screaming, like, if somebody's paying us a lot of money to have a conversation, we can't just say, I call you back in 20 minutes because like my kid fell? Like, that's so unprofessional. So unfortunately, like, we don't have like a lot of those calls. Like, where we have a couple clients that we work with every week, and we really block out those times. But it's like, it is on, like the call hangs up and like we switch for each other, and it's a really, it's a busy, fun life. But Chris, what you were talking about, the commute, I remember when I was a teacher, I had one job that I commuted an hour a day. I'll have to say, like, thank God I got those hours back, because sometimes there's no way, and that I could ever work 40 hours of uninterrupted time. So
totally. I mean, I was similar. I mean, I was in Southern California, busy commute, it was an hour and a half each day. I mean, it was like 7.5 hours of my life each week. I never got back because I'm just like bumper to bumper, right? And so when we made the jump to pursue our entrepreneurial endeavors, man, it was life-changing, because it was like, whoa, I get an extra like 8 hours a week with my wife because we have kids at the time, right? So, but yeah, I mean, that was a huge benefit. And then just to kind of set up what that home office looked like, get her on the same page. I mean, that was something where we had to really identify, and that's changed over time too. So, it was great when it was just us. That was pretty easy. But then once we started having these small rugrats, and you go from 1 to 2 to 3 to 4 now that I have 4 kids under 8.
What? Out of control.
Yeah. I can't even believe I could put a sentence together still. Seriously though, like my original home office was right at the end of the house where the stairs came down. Okay. So the front door was right there. The stairs came down. Now, if you're a 2, 3, 4-year-old, you love just running down the stairs or doing whatever just to kind of be loud. And that's exactly what was happening. So it came to a point where after just a couple of years ago, after 4 kids, it was like, all right, this is getting kind of loud here. And, we got lucky. We had the opportunity to kind of tear down a little pool shed we had in the backyard, literally a shed, and add a few square feet to it. Now I've got a home office that's, 12 feet from my back door. Nice. But, going back to what that was like in the beginning, you've got to set yourself up to plan well. And Jamie, talk to us a little bit about that. I mean, with you and Ruthie, especially you've got your online business, you guys both have your coaching clients. Your kids are also home all the time because they're homeschooling. Talk with us about, how do you guys plan that?
Well, we
plan your weeks.
Yeah. So we have a weekly meeting where any big appointments, we put them on the Google Calendar, like a new appointment. But we have in addition to new appointments and planning, we have times blocked off that are for each other to work, that are just scheduled on the calendar. But I'll say this has been really helpful. And I learned this when I was a Spanish teacher, is that I was forced to do this because that was like such a stressful job, is that I heard if you take 15 minutes before the next day and make just a short list of what you need to get done, something happens the next day when you wake up. You can just hit the ground running. You don't really have to think about what you're going to do. Call it your subconscious or whatever, but like you wake up just like boom, like when you have that time. And so that is huge. And I know, Michael, I see your Facebook Live videos. You got that whiteboard in your office where you write those goals on your whiteboard. I have a huge board on my wall in the office. It's like 4x8. It's got a little frame around it. And I take Michael, did you laugh at me? I said,
put it out. It's on fire.
It's on. So I light up my goals and my weekly stuff. on that board, and I'll write things down. Like we're doing the 12-week here together. Like I'll write like the 3 most important tasks I want to get to. And then every time I walk by it, it just kind of reminds me without me really noticing. I just look like, oh, and I see, yeah, I sent that out this week or whatever. So working off a list, planning your day ahead is huge. And then the one thing that I'll add is like I struggle with focus. And man, if I can get 90 minutes of uninterrupted work done, just like set a timer for 90 minutes and just like only package cameras or products to sell to ship on Amazon. And you know what? It's like I can get more in 90 minutes if I focus on just one thing. And it's not just about the 90 minutes. It's about like focus on one thing. So.
Yeah, I hear you, Jamie. That weekly meeting that you have with your wife is so key. Before when I started working from home, I just assumed my wife would get it, that like she would need to be quiet and keep the kids away from the office while I was working. But you can't leave it there, guys. There's more conversations that need to happen. So after many trial and error situations, we've gotten to the point today where at the beginning of the week, my wife and I will sit down and I'll actually show her when all my important meetings are. So I'm a coach and I work with people one-on-one over the phone. And it's really important that it's quiet when I'm working with my clients so I can be totally focused and dialed into helping them. And so I will go through every client appointment with my wife and say, these times I really need it quiet. So could you schedule the activities with the kids that you're going to be out of the house around those specific appointments? And man, after we had that discussion, we do this regularly now. It has brought us on the same page and we don't harbor any resentment toward each other. And it just works so smoothly. That way she knows how to plan and we know how to work together in this thing, and it works really well. But you can't just let that go. You can't assume it's going to work. You have to have these intentional conversations.
Yeah, and totally be on the same page is so critical. Now, I have a question too, though. Do you guys have, because we all have young kids, right? So do you guys have any rules that like work for your kids so they know like, hey, Dad's door is shut. Like I cannot go in there. Like for me, I've got, like actually right now on this call, my door is locked because it's an important time. I don't want a kid accidentally, running into blah, blah, blah. So they know like if it's locked and I have to knock and they knock and they don't answer and I don't answer, they know, well, Dad can't take it right now, but they can always knock. And if I answer, then I'm the one that has the authority, if you will, to open that door. What works for you guys? Jamie?
I'll jump in. I have one thing. It's not, Ruthie bought an open and close sign that we have on her office, and she actually like flips it over when she's doing her coaching.
Great.
And, like similar to what Michael said, like with the life and business coaching that we're doing, similar to Mike, it's like we don't multitask when we're on a call with one of our clients who's paying us hard-earned money. It's like we're there to help them 100%. And so I think the biggest rules, like the Slingerland family, we want to have fewer rules and then like not have a ton of rules, but they need to be important. And one of the things is those times with our clients, we need to really respect. And so we put that open and closed sign on, we lock the doors, and then we basically tell the other person, like it's on the schedule, but it's like we guard each other. It's like if we're on the phone with a client, it's like we got a security guard on board. But the one thing I wanted to add is like our wives are, with the homeschool and the stuff that we're doing, like we don't own the house like 50 hours a week and just say, ladies, like you need to be gone with like the kids. Like that wouldn't work. And so it's like a balancing act of like what Michael said. I thought that was awesome. Lydia will let's schedule some things with the kids and like go to the science museum when she knows he's got 2 hours of back-to-back coaching calls. Like that is huge, right, Mike?
Absolutely. That's a good point. We're not blocking out a 40-hour week just inside our home and telling our kids to stay away from us for that entire time. Part of the reason we're working from home is because we want to be here and we want access to our kids. And, for me, I have a 1-year-old and a 2-year-old. And while rules work some of the time, it takes some time for those to really sink in at that age. So, but pretty much my 2-year-old son anyway knows that when my office door is closed, I'm working and he can't come in. And there will be times when I'm doing tasks that don't require my full attention and I'll leave my door cracked open and he can come in and visit if he wants to. But that's just a very simple rule for us is door's closed, don't bother Papa.
Yeah, no, that's good.
Padlock
And it teaches them like there's discipline and some boundaries, because then there's freedom when you're not in your office, right? And so, I mean, let's talk about that and dig deeper here. So, how do you maximize your time, either when you're in your office or when you're out of your office? I mean, how do you guys schedule? I mean, Michael, as an example, I know you and I are kind of Ben Franklinites, right? Early to bed, early to rise makes a man healthy, wealthy, and wise. So, what do you do? Yeah, Jamie sleeps in.
I'm feeling. I heard that wasn't true. That Benjamin Franklin like invented all the best stuff at like 2 a.m. So
I think I did tell you that. I was reading something about his biography. His biographer actually dug deeper in that. He did. He got his best work done like between like 10 a.m. and 2 a.m. So it was, or 2.
Oh my
2 p.m.
goodness!
But
well,
Michael, I mean, you have like a early morning routine. How does that help you kind of plan to maximize the rest of your day in business and family?
yeah, I mean, for me, I have to get up and have a morning routine, time by myself, or I'm just going to be shot for the rest of the day. I mean, if I'm left to my own devices, I would, if I had plenty of money and I didn't have to get out of bed, I'd probably sleep till 11 o'clock. So this is just part of my survival. I choose to get up, 5:30 in the morning. But what it also allows for me to do is gives me that time to really set my day. I have some quiet time. I drink a big glass of water. I kind of get my bearings. I spend some time praying and planning the day. And then when my family wakes up and they come down the stairs, then I can fully put that stuff down for a bit and enjoy them, like have breakfast with them, talk to them about how they slept and what they're going to do today, and just really enjoy some time with my family and not feel like, oh man, I got to get to work. I got to get to work because I didn't, or I got to do this, this, and this. I already did that thinking through the day, and the stage is set for me to have an awesome day. And so then I can spend that time with my family and then when it's time, I can move right into my work day after that.
that's good.
That's good. Jamie, what works for you? I mean, you mentioned something earlier about batching. Tell us what you do to batch that helps kind of set the stage for your work week.
Well, another thing, back to the planning though, Ruthie and I have a morning kind of date where I make her coffee and we sit together, and that's usually before the kids get up. And that's like a real sweet time where we always kind of connect with each other, not really go through the calendar, but kind of review like, hey, like if you need me at any particular time, or we upload information for each other. And that really helps out. But as far as the batching goes, mornings are kind of the time that is carved away for me to work in the Amazon business, where I'll go in my office outside or do work on my computer. And so that's where I think between the hour, like after we do very similar to the McGreevy household, where we have dinner or breakfast together. We all just sit around. I would say no real work gets done until maybe like 8 or 8:30 at the earliest. But that's when I'll Ruthie can set up the kids doing some homeschool projects, and I'll go and I'll knock out 90 minutes of amazing work, guys. It's like phenomenal. You have no idea.
Deep work. You're the deep play guy, actually. But
I'll
make
it fun. Like I'll play some salsa or some Latin music, and I'll be jumping over some boxes, like bubble wrap and stuff with tape guns. But I'm on. Like I'll set a timer for 90 minutes, and I'll go to town.
That's awesome. Well, and that's, I mean, all that things are critical though in terms of maximizing your schedule. And we talked about this is not just your work day just to work. It's like, okay, if you know that you've got like last week, right? My little Lucia, she's in a little pre-K program at a Christian school, and I knew this is the one time in her year that she's got this Thanksgiving party and parents could come. And so I got to check out here about 12:30 in the afternoon on a Tuesday and spent that with her for the next couple hours. And it was sweet. But if I knew like, okay, I've got that on my calendar, then I'm going to batch hard for the first couple hours that day so that I can go do that, so that I can go and take my wife out on a lunch date on Wednesday just because, right? So there's things like that where if we're talking about the intentionality of having this freedom, how can we better invest in our family?
Man, there is freedom in boundaries, right? Let me give you an example. So let's say I just know my wife is having a really hard day, and I notice that, and I have an afternoon that opens up. Maybe my schedule changes, or it's just a light afternoon. Now I can step away from my workday within work hours and just say, you know what, honey, I will take the kids out for a couple hours so you can either rest or you can take some time for yourself or do whatever you'd like to do. And without those boundaries in place, that wouldn't feel like a gift to her. And then, just another example too is there's a way to you can actually do surprise dates or surprise little trips to the coffee shop with your wife. Like say, hey, I got a free hour in the afternoon here. A babysitter's coming that you don't know about, and we're going to head out for an hour and have a cup of coffee together. I mean, things like that are amazing. You can't do that when you're shackled to a desk and you have an hour of commute in front of you. So it really is those two things I would highly recommend doing if you do work from home.
Yeah. And I want to jump in here. I love what you said, Michael. We did that in our mastermind group. We did the whole Sabbath book where we talked about finding deep rest and just really reflection with your family and with individually. But to be honest, some of the sweetest times of rest that we have at the Slingerland home are when we take a day midweek, like a Wednesday, and we go to the movies and we spend time together and we're not working. And you know what? Call me a sinner or whatever. My Jewish rabbi wouldn't like this, but I'll work on a Saturday afternoon because my kids are down the hill with all their friends that go to regular school they don't see all week. They are so excited to spend time with those kids. And so we'll do something on a Wednesday when the rest of the world is just busy doing things. We feel like we've come to Earth and there's nobody there. It's a ghost town. You guys have been to Franklin, Tennessee. It's gridlock on the roads, when people are going to and from work. And we'll just leave mid-afternoon and the roads are empty. Everybody's at the office, and that will be a Sabbath for us. Another point that, again, I'm kind of like the free spirit. I know Michael's a little wild, but right now we're in Mexico for 3 weeks. I can't handle any physical product. So I need to work. We come home December 6th from Mexico to Franklin, and then we're gone to Buffalo 2 weeks later. I need to send 500 items to Amazon. So you can be sure I'm going to batch like crazy, and I'll be working some Saturday afternoons. Don't tell my Jewish rabbi, guys. I'm trusting you here, coach, client. But I would say, give yourself permission to work outside the 9 to 5 bank hours if that works for you. If you're a morning person or a night owl, you can work 2 hours after you put the kids to bed and your wife loves it. If that works for you, then it works for you. I'm not here to tell you that you need to do what I do. I think you guys would agree, right?
Yeah. No, that's key. Amen, brother.
Thank you.
No, freedom and flexibility is what we're after, right? If we can't be flexible from these traditional hours, then we're missing the point entirely.
We talked about this on other recordings about this guilt of not feeling like we're doing things the right way. I have to do things different when it's part of the thing that me and Ruthie are doing where we leave for almost a month. I need to hit it hard when I get back because we're living life differently.
Jamie, talk about that because you and I are in the same boat. We travel several weeks a year. Sometimes just for pleasure, for fun. I do a little bit for business, but I'll take my kids with us or family with us. But talk about acclimating back to that, because I think there's something here we want to touch on that's also super important about work from home. And that's being aware of yourself and your spouse and caring for yourself and your spouse. So, when you get back from a trip, do you just jump in the next day? I'm going to get 10 hours work done the next day when you've been gone for 3-4 weeks?
I used to do that, and it really just completely messed up the actual productivity, the relationships with your kids and your spouse. That's you'll mess that up too if you're just when you walk in your home and you feel like when you're gone for a long trip and you come home, you can smell the way your house smells. Normally, you can't smell your own house, but you're man, I've been gone. It's almost like you're visiting your house for the first time. You guys don't relate, do you? Huh? You guys are laughing at me.
I know what you're talking
Mine
about.
just always smells. I have 4 kids. Come on.
Mine smells like 1890 when I get back.
Yeah, well, that's because your house was built in 1890, right?
Right.
But I think me and Ruthie were talking about this yesterday because I shared the little video that I made with you guys about the 3 things that I wanted to bring in this conversation. And she told me, Chris, she was like, you stole that from Chris, because she said that she remembered you saying that about carving out an acclimation time for your family for the betterment of the relationship. And I just skipped over the relationship and was thinking about productivity. Like, I know when I'm gone for 3 weeks and I come back, I'm going to literally have I'll send you guys maybe in the show notes, I can put a picture of like what my garage looks like when I'm gone for 3 weeks. Like, I will literally have 300 or 400 boxes that are there. And like, I'm like itching to like get into these things and get to work. And what I found out is that I'll get less work done in the full week if I jump right into that. I need to like let that stuff sit and follow my own advice, where I take that 15 minutes the night before and just like say like, what do I really want to get done? And this is the temptation for me to do like 1 hour of like 3 different things instead of like batch something in a full day and just like crush it that week. Do not come home from a 2-week trip and just jump on your email or jump in your work. Let that stuff sit and create a plan to execute on it, and you will actually get more stuff done that week than if you would just jump in. You guys agree with that, or what do you think?
No, that's huge. I mean, I think, we've learned that the last year or so is when you have a travel opportunity like that. Like, we were just gone in Greece for 2.5 weeks as a family, and I barely did any work. I mean, it was truly kind of a leisure trip, big birthday trip for my wife. But we've just learned, happy 29 again. We just learned that the kids especially, right? I mean, they're used to like 24/7 with both the parents for 2.5 weeks straight. You can't go back and just land and be like, all right, hey, dad's checked out for the next 2 days, 10 hours each, because I got to just catch up on work. Like, no, give yourself a little bit of a buffer there. Maybe it's, you get a half day that first day and then kind of ease back in so that it works for your family's environment. So, another thing, and you guys both do a good job at this, I think, too, is when we talk about self-care, right? Sometimes, and this is a true problem working from home, is that if you don't get out of the house during the day or during the week, you're going to go crazy. And so sometimes, and my wife is really good about this, of just saying, like, if I say, honey, you know what? I'm just going to go work at the coffee shop down the street for the afternoon. And I'm the guy at the coffee shop that's got my earphones on in front of my computer. I'm working, but there's just something about the buzz of everyone else. And there's other adults there having conversations, and I'm not stepping on Legos. I'm not hearing screaming going on in the background. Like, you need that. And you also need, if you can't even do that, I mean, at least schedule some in-person, like, adult times, right? And your wife too. I mean, this is something where I think we could talk a whole show about this, but if you're working from home and your wife is working from home or homeschooling, you're seeing a lot of each other. I mean, a lot compared to the average couple.
Too much sometimes.
Sometimes you just need to break away. And it's good to say, hey, you know what, honey? Make sure you schedule a nail appointment this week, or coffee with a friend, or whatever, so you don't get in my throat.
I want to say that is huge. Like, we are doing this lifestyle with our spouse. It's like we need to like include them. Not only do we need to go to the coffee shop, but we need for them to have their energy and their, it needs to be restored. And it doesn't happen by taking the kids out an extra time going to do chores. So send them out, guys.
Send them out. Well, hey, we gotta land this plane here, but this has been a great show. I mean, really talking about how can we truly leverage working from home. And if you can plan well, right? And we hear about this saying, if you fail to make a plan, you plan to fail. And so make that plan, maximize the time that you have if I were to work from home. Questions to ask yourself and your own personality. What kind of boundaries should I put in place? Thanks again for listening. Until next time.
Thank you for listening to the Entrepreneurial Family Man podcast. For show notes, resources, and to connect with us, visit www.entrepreneurialfamilyman.com.